And we're back. We're back once again. Bitcoin rallying up to start off this month of October, the most bullish month of all time. No, well, actually, it statistically is quite a good month for Bitcoin, but starting off with a nice little upside note, certainly not something to complain about. But in today's video, we'll be going over actually the opposite of yesterday's data, which would be the high of the month data. I do want to get into a little bit more of a more detailed look at that. We actually haven't done that for quite some time as well, so kind of want to prepare for that just in case if Bitcoin does do some absolutely fucking crazy start of this month. And other than that, I want to welcome back everyone back into this nice little community, this nice little cave. What's up, Terry T's Binary God? I heard that there's certainly more than two. Anyways, Biff the Bear, good morning to you, man. Sinaz, Christian Matar, Wiki, Car T Cell, Chris, Leo Oliveira, Starcadius, and who else we got? Mike's Mind and Matter. Yeah, I mean, it's a good morning. Start off this new month of October with a little bit of green action going on right here. But I'm very interested to see what the old shitcoins are doing today. Are they following with the old Lord Bitcoin, or are they playing like they typically do? Because that could be a good insight as to whether a correction is still likely to play out in the early portion of October or not. But with the way that things are looking now, I feel like I do this all the time. It's like I have all of these setups and I'm like, okay, yeah, there's very high probability. Have to be going with this side. And then something else happens. I'm like, wait, no, hold on. It looks like the other way now. But ultimately, setups are setups. And realistically, it's a big focus now on the higher term time frame data that we've been looking at for the green closure on September very specifically, because green Septembers have always led to a very green Q4 of that same year with an average gain of over 50%. So, to put that into perspective, that would put Bitcoin at like 170-ish thousand if Bitcoin were to play out that same sort of relationship for this year as well. Now, keep in mind, we've only seen that 6 times in Bitcoin's history, but hey, 6 out of 6 is pretty damn good. I ain't complaining on that. And a bull supermoon is coming on Monday as well, says Frederico. Indeed it is, man. It's something like that. Are you in Miami? No, we're not. We're not in Miami, man. I don't want to really be in Miami, to be honest. I think I'm done with big cities. No matter which big city that you're in, it seems like you're just always going to be dealing with some shit. Now, Miami's probably better run than most big cities, but just from all of the things that I've seen, it doesn't really matter where you go in this world. It seems like big cities, you're just asking for shit. You're just asking for shit. And I don't want any shit. I want nice and quiet. I want peace. I want not much going on, and I just want to look at some magic internet coins and train and yeah, I mean, also we just don't party anymore as well. I mean, shit, man, I haven't really even partied since like my 20s, so it's been quite some time. I guess I haven't even really realized it now too. I don't know, man. I feel like I did all of that shit in my early 20s and late teens. College was a good time for that. Great 6 years of my life. But, I don't know, man. I feel like soon after that, as soon as I actually found a career to just fall in love with, or not even a career, but found something to fall in love with, all of that sort of, all of my impulses to do that really fell alongside the wayside. And of course, after I met Elsa as well. But goddamn, man. Honestly, when I think about it, once I actually started to fall in love with working towards something, I just did not give a fuck about partying anymore. None of that, man. Just the whole idea of it, especially drinking, became kind of repulsive, especially because drinking, it just takes so long to recover from. I mean, obviously this was, as I got closer and closer to 30, anytime I take a goddamn sip of alcohol, it seems like I just waste the next 2 or 3 days. So Elsa wants me to tell a story right now as well. Yes, indeed, we did used to party. We did used to party rather hard indeed as well. In fact, Elsa one time, after knowing me for about a month, came all the way over to America, and she spent a week with me. In that week, we had all sorts of great fun. But during the very end of that week, we went to a nice nice rave, whatever it was, and I drank probably for the first time in a long time there. And I forget what it was. It was probably whiskey. It was probably gin, something like that. Yeah, it was gin. Okay, it was some shitty gin. And I drank probably way more than I should have. And immediately I'm spinning. And other than that, again, Elsa has only known me for about a month and a week at this point. And we take off from the rave. We're going back to my place. And I am not fucking feeling good. I already hate cars, man. I already get real head sick in cars. I'll tell you that right now. I don't even need alcohol to make this an issue. But alcohol definitely made it a much bigger issue this this time. And as soon as we get out of that goddamn car, I've been holding it in for like 10, 15 minutes. I just yak all over the front yard, all over the street, and even a little bit on Elsa as well. And also get. That's right. I also threw up on you in the party. Really? Oh, nice. And then we made out. Yes, indeed. All right. So that's also your fault as well, because you're disgusting, and I'm very disgusting. Crown, fight the caffeine ruse. What? The caffeine ruse? I don't know what that is, man. Just get straight to the analysis, please, sir. And, well, unfortunately, man, your version of English is so fucked up. I can't do that. So it looks like we're just going to have to go through more of the comments right now. Understand, actually, the reason why we actually do take some time at the beginning of these streams to just chat it out is, one, because it's fun, and then two, it pisses off lobotomized people like you, and then also. The most important reason is that it just gives people time to join in, because right now there's about 500 people watching. Typically we get a little bit more than that, so I just want to make sure that, the people who are going to join and want to be here are getting a chance to do that, and then we'll go over the analysis together so we don't have to go over it in the future again as well. Anyways, yes, a true love story. It's good times to tell some true love stories. So stop fucking complaining, Stanley Cook. Go fuck yourself and get the hell out of here. Anyways, that's indeed love. I'm just kidding, man. You're more than welcome to be here. But yeah, just want to give some time for people to join in as usual, because these things, they take a little bit of time to kind of gain their own momentum. But yeah, man. Anyway, stay with tequila. I don't know about that one, man. Tequila is a whole other sort of drug, in my opinion. That is not like real liquor. That one's an upper. It's a crazy one, man. You're missing out on the party scene. Perhaps yes, man. But honestly, when after I started to get into my own sort of work, I didn't feel like I was missing out at all. I felt like I was missing out on work. Honestly, that's how I truly feel. Like when I go out, when I get dragged out to go for like a late night activity, I just think about, fuck, god damn it, man, like I'm not gonna be able to do my work tomorrow. Like I don't even really want to be here. Like I don't give a fuck about these people. I don't care. But I'm missing out on the party scene. Look, if you haven't partied enough in your 20s, I think that you're already done goof. You're already fucked up. Like you don't want to be that loser who's 40 years old and still trying to, club it up and dress up your 20, like one of those Jersey Shore fuckers. Because they are still doing it. I'll tell you right now. They need the money and they're still doing it. There's a fucking channel on our TV that is dedicated to Jersey Shore, and they're still doing it at like 40 or 45, I think is the average age for these people. It's just kind of, honestly, it's kind of sad. It's like you don't have nothing that you'd rather be doing than this. I mean, maybe I'm sad, but fair enough, man. Anyways, we have to wait for the XRP army because they're always wait. That's right. We need to wait for the XRP army. Let's actually look at some of these shitcoins. Look at some of these indices as well. I'm curious to see how U.S. markets are opening up for this new month. I need to pin Elsa's message as well. Pin my message. Pin my message. For some reason, your message hasn't actually posted on this screen over here just yet. Yes, I know that it has. It's just it hasn't shown up here because this one's on a delay. So give me a moment while it does post up, and then we'll get into it. In fact, I'll give a little bit of time for this to populate, and let's just go over what SPY futures are doing to open up this new month. And actually, kind of interesting here, did dump off a little bit. Very strange to see that bifurcate from Bitcoin. I mean, especially if Bitcoin's going to be showing some upside, and this thing is, I mean, overall, this is very, very bullish, obviously. But, in the short term, usually this one is going to lead. Regardless of that, it looks, shit, man, it looks like SPY probably already has a loan for the week, to be honest. I mean, Jesus. Perfectly a stab down to the bottom end of this nice little rising channel here from the price action pivots extensions. Oh, fuck, I also forgot to mention as well. I have a big update. In fact, I'll bring it up to you right now. I have a big update for all of the people who are on the CROUSD Trading Bible program, which is just my one major educational program now. We're going to be adding access to a proprietary indicator. It is specifically for long-term investors. It's going to offer a lot of customization, but right now I have the settings to just find basically macro cycle lows. Obviously, it's not going to be useful for what we're doing right now because Bitcoin is not in a macro cycle even downtrend as of the moment, but I am kind of configuring it to get ready for the next market cycle, as this has been pretty damn good at getting the lows with these settings. Now, we are going to allow people to customize it to their heart's content. You'll be able to be as aggressive or as not aggressive as you want, but the purpose is going to be for long-term investments signals. And realistically, what we found, myself and Pesto, who I worked with on this indicator, what we found is that it's actually extremely difficult to beat weekly DCA for any sort of an asset that is just generally uptrending. So, you know, we're talking about Bitcoin, we're talking about gold in a way, we're talking about, of course, the major indices, you know, all of the FANG stocks, these sort of things. Very, very difficult to actually beat weekly DCA. But what we did find that actually can beat weekly DCA is to actually continue to weekly DCA, but a small amount. And then when we get these strong signals predicated upon by this new indicator here, that is when, you know, it's time to up the DCA amount, up the amounts, because then you can get, you know, the big returns over time. So we are going to be releasing this. I mean, in fact, I'm going to release it today. So if you do have the CROUSD Trading Bible, check it out, you know, maybe like an hour after the stream. Let me make a note to myself to actually add it there. You'll be able to claim the indicator. There'll be directions on Teachable on exactly how to do that. And you can set it up, like I said, to your heart's content. There'll be tutorials on how to use it, of course. And yeah, that'll be right there for you. In fact, we can, I'll do it like first thing after the stream. I'm making a note of it right now. Make indicator available. So again, this is going to be applicable for long-term investors primarily, and you'll be able to set up alerts and all that good stuff for it. So I'm actually quite excited about this because you know, I'm starting to shift a little bit more into a long-term investor, and this is going to be very, very useful for kind of upping the ante for when I actually do want to put big money at work. This one, again, I have the settings kind of customized to just find major lows for Bitcoin, but of course you can make it more aggressive so that it's just buying all of the major dips for Bitcoin as well. There's many settings to kind of play around with there to your heart's content. So I think people are going to have a lot of fun with that because I've been having a lot of fun with it myself. Anyways, let's get back into traditional markets here. Let's see what some of the major indices are doing. Like I said, SPY, I mean, this looks like it's probably going to be the low of the week. If it's not, then probably somewhere down around 6640, but overall, this is still very bullish. Monthly close, very, very well. Any sort of a pullback here, even if it comes all the way down to 6560, this is bullish. This is going to make new all-time highs, or I shouldn't say it's going to make new all-time highs in this quarter. What I should say is very high probability, very, very likely. In my opinion, it is my opinion that it is very likely to make new highs. Anyways, yeah, if it did pull back down to like low 65s, I think that would be a beautiful place to buy, but you know, perhaps for a trading position, but I'm not even so certain it's going to get down around there. Ultimately, I do think that this thing is going to make significantly new highs, you know, very likely above $7,000. Well, yeah, $7,000 by end of Q4 at some point in this quarter. Anyways, we got 8 minutes until the traditional markets open. Check-ins on some of my stonks after that. Let's actually see what some of the pre-markets are for these things. Let's actually see what Coinbase is doing. I imagine Coinbase should be popping up here a little bit. In fact, this one is back above 344, and this one's about to confirm to me that the low is likely in. I was looking for it to go a little bit lower than 300, you know, somewhere around 275. I am very likely going to be wrong on that if this one does pop back above this high that we saw from the middle of September. If that happens, it's up. It's fucking up back to 400 as far as I'm concerned. You know, monthly right here, again, I mean, it's going to be very hard to argue against that, at least from my perspective. Quarterly definitely could leave some things to be desired, so perhaps I do hold off on this one. But ultimately, it's very hard not to see this as one major continuation play. This is your quarterly with more or less an inverted herp and derp, and most importantly, even if you aren't looking at this as a inverted herp and derp, you still got the nice uptrend continuing on the monthly and the quarterly here with higher highs and higher lows yet again. In fact, it's now looking a lot. I mean, if this thing trades above September highs, this is going to look like September was the low pivot. Hard to fucking hate that, man. Even if it came back down to like 300 or 310 or even 315, I would be looking at that as a likely opportunity. So I suppose we shall see what's Triple Q's doing here. Triple Q's having a slightly down open, similar to SPY. This one, let's give it a chance to actually open here. We got another 6 minutes, but if it does take out yesterday's low, Tuesday's low, I suppose I could be looking for a move back down to 592. But again, long-term bullish, man. Long-term fucking bullish. Compare this with most of crypto shitcoin charts. I mean, now you can hopefully see over time exactly what I'm talking about. It's just easier. It's just better to get into these long-term uptrending assets because you don't need to be too fucking smart to make money with them, to be honest. And with crypto shitcoins, you need to be retarded and lucky in order to make money, which is a very difficult combination to come about, unfortunately. as those are typically inversely correlated. Anyways, I'll get to some more of these comments, and we'll get to the actual analysis of the day. We almost got 700 people in here, so that is very, very nice. Herpes and derpies, says Andrea. Indeed, good morning to you. Coin has never made new highs. Coin has never made new I'm talking about above last month's high, sir. I'm not talking about, you mean since IPO. Yeah, of course, it hasn't made new high. Actually, yes, it has. Indeed, it has. In fact, it quite literally did just a couple months ago in July. I don't know what you're talking about, man. But it came out, traded to a high of about 429, and in July made a new high of 444. So yeah, it did have a slightly new high. But ultimately, I still look at this one as whether it's taken out the prior IPO high or not. I don't honestly give a fuck. I really don't give a fuck. I like uptrends, and we got an uptrend, and that is what I'm focused on here, sir. Anyways, Elsa definitely has caught the derpies, because I can assure you that I definitely have it. Anyways, Ryan says, thank you, Crown, for adding more value to the program. I'm starting to turn gay for you and your hairy shoulders. Well, it's almost as good as being gay for TA, but still, the goal here is to be gay for TA, not necessarily for me. But I'm glad that you are finding value in it, man. And yeah, that is my whole purpose. I love to just add more shit to stuff that, never was really promised for, because it just feels like value added, and no one can hate on that, or at least I would hope no one can hate on that. I mean, that would seem even a little bit crazy for crypto people. But yeah, man, like I said, the CROUSD Trading Bible is what I want to just shove everything into. So it's including all of the traditional technical analysis knowledge that was in the TA program in a little bit more of a streamlined way, to be fair. It's also including all of the quantitative trading and live trades that we had from that program. It's also including all of the options and live trading from options program. It's also including the trading psychology program, which very few people probably even know about. But yeah, that all of that's in there now too. And now I'm going to start to put in, as a bit of a secret, the long-term investing strategies and analysis, mostly because it will take some time for me to get this out. I will start with that indicator, and then I'll kind of work my way around the content. But like I said, I'm still relatively new into long-term investing. I would say I have about 6 years of experience under my belt right now, and I don't think that that's enough, to be honest. I think I need at least 10 years minimum, because it really, long-term investing just takes a long time. It's not like trading where you can kind of prove that you know what you're talking about within a couple of years of consistent success. A couple of years of consistent success in long-term investing means basically fuck all, because you haven't even seen one full cycle. You could very well just get lucky. And as of right now, I want to acknowledge that I've been born into a very lucky time to be a long-term investor, because things just go fucking up. Why is that? Because we are in a period of fiat debasement. That is why most of these assets are going up. Yes, there are some asset classes that go up more than the fiat debasement would typically imply, which is where the real skill is right now, to find those assets. But I mean, it really is no more difficult as of the current moment than looking at tech and looking at, of course, the gold coins. No, well, the gold and the coins, actually. But yeah, man, I don't feel like I've seen any true adversity in this lifespan just yet. Yes, there's been some pretty nasty stuff like we saw in April of this year, and also, of course, in 2022. But historically speaking, this is just nothing that crazy. I mean, for fuck's sake, even 20 years ago, we were looking at about a 10-year period, an almost 10-year period of this, where it's pumping up, it's coming all the way back down, it pumps up to the high again, makes a slightly new high, then makes a lower low. I mean, that is fucking difficult, man. That is super fucking difficult to remain in position, or just even to judge this one when you are more or less trendless, and then it just goes straight from all-time low. Not from all-time lows. Obviously, this one was much lower before this, but in the past 20 years, straight from the lows, just to fucking new all-time highs upon new all-time highs, and realistically no major pullbacks. Again, worst we've gotten is down to the green moving average, the 55 EMA on the monthly. And that's, I mean, yeah, these are big moves, but generally they've been really fast. They don't test you for long. I've never had to live through a 10-year period where it's like, okay, are we actually, in an uptrend or not? For the past 15 years, just been straight fucking up. Just been straight up. So, I feel like I still need to earn my stripes in this game. Yes, it's been quite good to me thus far, but, for the past 6 years, I mean, you can basically just see on the charts, like, just up, just fucking up. Anyways, we'll get into some Bitcoin analysis here in just a moment. I need to take a sippy sip of this. Chris Custom Paint says, if I have the old TA program, do I have access to this? No, because this is going to include everything. So what we will do is we will give you a significant discount if you email Elsa at elsa.crowntrading@outlook.com. We will give you a massive discount to account for that prior TA program. But because we've added so much other things into it, I do feel like it does warrant its own sort of environment, if you will. And so yeah, that indicator will only come with that program. I doubt we'll sell it on its own. I mean, maybe we do if there's like a significant amount of demand, but honestly, I really want to keep it for that program and keep it into that environment. So yeah, like I said, if you have basically any program from us, by the way, we will give you massive discount towards the new Crown Trading Bible to account for that. But it won't be for everything, obviously, because there is just more content there in general. It's including literally everything that I got and everything that I will put in there in the future. I just want it all in one place, no multiple programs, no nothing like that any longer. Anyways, Steven Schickman, you are indeed late, man. You're indeed late, but it's okay. Anyways, let's now get into some old Bitcoin analysis here. Let's start off with some daily price statistics. In fact, it is a very relevant time right now because Bitcoin has hit the top side of the Wednesday range high if you are looking at the average percent gain. And again, Wednesday is actually traditionally the biggest gaining day. No, it is not the most likely to close positive day, although this Wednesday probably is going to be a positive closing day, but it does have the biggest percentage gains at over 2.5% on average. When Wednesday has been a losing day, it's lost an average of 1.67%. I think it's very unlikely we'll see that today. And as of right now, you can see that Bitcoin has perfectly spiked up into that exact average range high, and it is pulling back as of the current moment. And yeah, I do think it will pull back a little bit more. So another great example here of the historical price action statistic indicator, getting a scalp in real time. If you're a short-term time frame trader and just looking for those quick moves, those quick back and forths, this indicator is just so fucking slept on. No, it's not underslept on. It's slept on. It's slept on. Yeah, and you can try it out for free for 7 days. There's a link in the description below for Teachable. It's in Caretaker's Indicator Suite, which got all of Caretaker's good tools. And yeah, again, just happening right there in front of our eyes. Now, I will say this. If you see price action once again approach the top side of this boundary, I would not say that a pullback again is likely. The first test, very fucking likely, very high probability trade. Second test, significantly less so. So, you got to play it in real time. And in this case, you're seeing it more or less in real time, perfectly spike up there and then back off. Again, just looking at stats right there. But here's the thing. I want to get into some more October statistics. I want to go a little bit deeper into October statistics now because yesterday we were waiting for many things. We were waiting for the closure of September. Again, September closing green sets in a massive buys, at least for us on this channel, for a green, really green Q4 of this year. So anytime between now, October, and the end of December, I am expecting, significantly new highs. Significantly new highs probably depends upon your disposition for that. But on average, we've seen about a 50% move when September has closed green into the end of Q4 from the open to the closure. So now that we actually have the official closure for September, we could see exactly what that would look like on top of price action. Again, these are averages, so it's not going to be exact. There's going to be some variance in here, but it would be about $170,000. In fact, I think we should go over what was the lowest. What was the lowest ever? The lowest ever actually was 2012 when September closed green. Then Q4 went on to only gain, almost 10%. That was a very long time ago, I will say. In the past 10 years especially, we've seen big gains of around about 50% on average, with the lowest being 47.5%, which was actually 2024's gain. So I do look at that as overall very good. And generally, I'm just looking for new highs during this next quarter. Are there going to be pullbacks along the way? Naturally, of course, there's always pullbacks. Sometimes, a lot shallower than not. But ultimately, there will be pullbacks, and this still does not necessarily negate the setups that we've been looking at the end of September, which does have me a little bit concerned in the short term with Bitcoin already rallying here. But hey, if you are more long term, I think that just makes it significantly easier. Whether you're looking for, a short term pullback here, I think worst case scenario you get is maybe like $100,000 or something somewhere around there. Whether that's relevant to you or not, I don't know. What is, in my opinion, more significant and significantly more important is, we have data here that suggests Bitcoin is just the risk is to the upside, not the downside right now. The risk is to the upside. Anyways, let's go over some more pertinent stats for October. Let's go over the October high stats. So what I've done here is I've measured the date, like literally the day of the month in October that we have seen the high of the month, and found that when Bitcoin has been closing on a green October, it has been on average very late within the month of October. In fact, I would say that this is the latest. This is the latest out of any month that we've seen in Bitcoin's history for the high of the month. So very, very likely we see it late in the month. And even, this is super interesting, at least to me. I mean, maybe I'm just like the biggest fucking nerd here. In fact, I am the biggest fucking nerd. But what's very, very interesting to me is that even on negative closing Octobers, we generally see the high of the month very late in the month as well. You know, you not really expect that on a negative closing month. At least that's usually not what we get. But in this case, yeah, absolutely. This one has seen more or less all of the highs of October, even in negative closing Octobers, after at minimum the second week, the end of the second week. So after day number 14, like you see over here in 2014. Other than that, even for some of the most like nasty Octobers, I mean, it's been very late within the month. On the 30th or even the 29th. Actually, in fact, this one will not be 29 right here. That was for a weekly downtrend. It should technically be right there. But still, that doesn't really destroy our data set over here just because, these are all still very, very late, except for 2011. Again, I would argue that that's just way too early in Bitcoin's history to really care about. But yeah, ultimately, Bitcoin here, or this one should also be here as well. Okay, that actually does take it down a little bit. Still, after the end of the second week, you can see I've been a little bit lazy with my data this morning because I am once again massively underslept. I don't know what the hell is going on here. There must be something in the air in Florida, but the past few days has been a little bit difficult. But I have hopes, man. I have good hopes. Anyways, my point is that if you are looking for a positive or even a negative October, you're still looking for the high, very likely after the end of the second week, at least. And we've already gone over the Bitcoin October lows data, which generally has the low of the month, even in positive closing months after the end of the first week. So, I do hesitate to say that Bitcoin is not going to correct early in the month here. Still, I think that that's a little bit more likely, statistically speaking. But hey, I'm very happy to be wrong on that. Now, let's go over, similar to yesterday, not the Bitcoin open to the low of the month, but Bitcoin open to the high of the month for the month of October. And then let's break it down by positive and negative closing Octobers. Now, during positive closing Octobers, the differential between the open of the month and the high of the month has actually been pretty insane. It's been about 32% on average. And I do want to point out that 2024 was 16%, 2023 was 30%, 2022 was 8.5%, 2021 was 52, almost 53%, and 2020 was about 31%. So if you even just look at the past 5 years, we're talking like big double digits typically, except for 2022, which was a bearish year. That was a general downside year in a bear trend. Now, if Bitcoin were to play out a differential, a 32% on average high from this month's open, what would that look like for October even? Well, if we take that from, again, the open, which is about 114 almost, 32%, again, this is an average, so it's not going to be exact, that would give a high of the month somewhere around about 150. So if you do see Bitcoin spike up to 150 this month, I think it's a little bit unlikely, but hey, if it were to happen, I'd probably be looking for Bitcoin to back off from that number, at least on the first pass. It's also a nice round, psychological number as well. So I would be looking for a big pullback if Bitcoin were to get somewhere around there in this month. Now, on the other side, even for negative closing Octobers, and this is where I think the data is even more compelling and more interesting, we've seen a differential between the open and the high of the month for negative closing Octobers at about 4.5% on average. Now, again, we have limited data for negative closing months in October. Bitcoin's just more or less been green almost, not almost every time, but every time, but 4 times basically. So 4 out of 15 more or less. And so, it is a lack of data here. The last time we even saw a red October was 2018, and I think that's also the name of a movie, which is kind of cool. But yeah, 4.5% would be the average on that. Again, putting this into perspective, even for a negative close in October, 4.5% to the upside would put Bitcoin more or less at about $119,000 to $120,000, which I actually do think that it will get to, perhaps even on this rally. But again, it's all about the higher term time frame data, in my opinion, at this point. Now, let me get back into my notes over here because I've actually lost them once again. There we go. Okay, let's continue moving on. Look at some of our new stochastic momentum pivots here as the new month has opened, and also the new quarter as well, I should add. And the monthly time frame has seen the monthly stochastic momentum pivot shift up significantly. If you recall from last month, it was somewhere down around, I think it was like 92 or 94,000 bucks. It was significantly lower. Now it's actually risen risen up, well, quite a fair bit to the upside. Now it is at 113,500, and that is more or less the open of the month. So Bitcoin does need to remain above the open of September, I would say, in order to keep the short-term momentum to the upside. That would honestly imply that. That's actually kind of strange, man. That actually kind of does imply that if you do want to be bullish, you kind of have to be bullish like from now, I suppose, which that does feel a little bit wrong to me. But feelings are not something to be trading off of. But just if I'm relating that, which again, there are major issues with doing that, well, it wouldn't look right. But yeah, fair enough. Anyways, looking at the quarterly time frame, which also closed last night, I do want to update on this, that the new pivot is going to change from 109 to, if I recall, it actually shifted down, but let's wait for it to load. But I'm pretty sure it shifted down by a few $1,000, which is usually a good sign. Again, it is still within a really, really critical zone here, but perhaps that does align with a blow off top in this quarter, which would make me, again, I look at that as bittersweet, to be honest. But if we get this to fucking load, that would be amazing. That would be absolutely great. Let's, I suppose, be patient here or do something like that, I guess. This is like the longest load I've ever seen ever, so that's annoying. Both with the BBWP and the advanced stochastic, so don't know what to make of that. I'm going to take a sip of water while this hopefully populates. And it still hasn't done even that, so let's try another trick here. Sometimes if you switch around from different asset to different asset, it'll populate up. Going over here to CME, but even this one is not populating as well. So I think it's just TradingView being TradingView. As always, fuck you, TradingView, you giant piece of shit. It would be absolutely amazing if you actually did the one thing that you're supposed to do well, which is populate your fucking charts. Stop working on the goddamn social features of TradingView, for fuck's sake. Maybe work on the goddamn charting features, the thing that people actually use this thing for. Anyways, I suppose we will have to wait another lifetime for that one to populate. In the meantime, we can go to the new monthly HPDR. I do want to point out that on the monthly HPDR, the bottom side of the range has actually remained where it was for last month. It's about 90,000 or 91,000 bucks. The median has come down a little bit. It's basically at around Bitcoin's current all-time high, slightly higher than that at 127-ish. So if Bitcoin were to pop up to this, again, on first pass, I would be looking for a bit of a pullback, bit of a pushback there. But this also does imply more or less that Bitcoin makes new highs or new all-time highs. I mean, it's very likely to reclaim there. And, at that point, we very likely have big fucking rallies to be looking at. Maybe the quarterly will populate here. Hopefully it will. Then again, maybe I shouldn't hold my breath for this. Or maybe we should go over here and see what CME's monthly looks like. Or is anything going to populate at this point? Is TradingView just completely fucked? Maybe it is FUBAR. Nice. It's finally done it over here. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. It did it. You finally did it. You absolute dog shit piece of... I won't say it. Anyways, yeah, the quarterly pivot did move down significantly. So if you recall from last quarter, it was 109 and change. Now it is 104 and 400 or so. So usually when we see that pivot move down, that's that's a good indication for price to keep moving in this case, the upside direction. So this is, I guess, maybe starting to look more and more like potential blow off in the making, which I don't like personally. I personally would want to see a move down to 100,000 first, then have a very sharp and quick rally back up. That would look a lot better to me for a more constructive rally, in this case, new all-time highs, but it doesn't really matter what I want to happen. I just would look at that as a more healthy thing long-term. Yeah, going back on over here for CME, I should also acknowledge that CME did remain above the median for last month, and more importantly, we can see the top side of the 38.2 level is around 123,500 bucks. So again, if you do see Bitcoin spike up around there on first pass, I would be looking for a bit of a pullback. Don't really know what it means after that, though. I don't think that there is a great or significant mooning after that. Maybe let's see if volatility is expanding. It is not, so we don't have any easy calls over here as well. Yeah, the easy calls are in the future, not right now, unfortunately. I suppose the future, again, just generally bullish, but in the short term, that's where I'm a bit stumped on this one. So let's actually go into the short term and see if there's anything of more relevance here. As long as Bitcoin is below that September swing high at about 118,000 bucks, I still do think that you're more likely to get a pullback right here and probably play out that correction. I personally hope that I probably am talking my opinion at this point. In fact, I am talking my opinion at this point. So I want to separate the TA, the actual statistical analysis, versus my personal opinion, which is, hopefully it does pull back here because that would be just significantly more constructive. and I actually do think that, it probably will, but let's see if we have any sort of other momentum oscillator signals. Maybe the RSI will tell us something, because the stochastic oscillator is not really giving us much here, or at least it's not confirming my bias, so I don't like it in this case. That's really how it works. Does it confirm my bias or not? If it doesn't, fuck you. If it does, yeah, we pay attention, or at least I pay attention. But yeah, it looks like the daily over here is not going to give me much as well. It's neither confirming nor negating. If anything, it would be a little bit more on the bullish side. So yeah, fair enough. Maybe I'm letting my own opinion influence this a little bit too much. But again, that is why I like to call it my own opinion and differentiate that between my opinion and the actual analysis. And of course, at the end of the day, you are and you should be making your own decisions for yourself, hopefully using some sort of statistics to kind of mediate that, because that is what I think is the only thing that really matters in this game. But hey, you're free to do whatever the fuck you want to do. Anyways, I think that's going to do it here for Bitcoin. I'm going to get into the super chats that Elsa has been popping up here. And hey, what's up, Notchboom? How you doing, man? Good morning to you, man. Marco Escobar, good morning to you as well, sir. And Haven Peck says, actually, I was watching this other day. You didn't call this. What are you talking about? Calling out what? Calling out what, sir? You got to be more specific than that. Anyways, I'm going to get into the comments over here, and we shall see. All right, Freddie M says CLSK weekly monthly. This is Clean Spark, and I've seen a lot of people call out this one recently because it has been one of those meme stocks and actually did close out the month pretty damn well. So this one we were looking at on last Friday and the week prior as significant if it closed above the swing high from July, and indeed it has. While I do think there is potential for a short-term pullback similar to Bitcoin, overall I would be expecting this rally to continue. So if it does want to pull back, maybe retesting, that breakout point somewhere around $13.5 is fine. Again, I'm not saying it's gonna get down around there, but if it does, that'd be great. Ultimately, I do think that this one will trade higher. This is, I think this is a real reversal in progress with a higher low right here already, and obviously you've already traded above that last swing high, so you do have a nice little reversal. If it does have a short-term pullback, that's fine. Ultimately, I think that this thing does head up closer to $18 or $20. I don't know about this month, but maybe over the next few months, something like that, man. Anyways, let's see what else we got over here as well. You don't like getting blown off. You don't. That is a good point, sir. That is a good point. Only by lovely men. Anyways, with good heads of hair as well. Price says Borg week and month. Borg. Okay, what is this? This is a new one. Is this crypto or is this a? Oh, is this a crypto or is this that stock? Bjorn Borg. This is some sort of Nordic stock actually. That's really popular in Finland. Swissborg. I'm gonna guess you're probably talking about Swissborg just because most people ask about cryptos and shitcoins like that, and seeing as it had actually a really good September right there. In fact, really powerful, even taking out the last high. This one does have a bit of its own reversal as well. I do think that this one will head a little bit higher, maybe closer to like 85, somewhere between 80 to 90 cents. Let's just call it 85 cents, something like that, man. Let's see what the quarterly close. Yeah, quarterly is pretty damn good as well. This one actually does have a macro cycle higher or low, to be fair, above its 20. Hold on. Oh, no, this is all the same thing. All right, well, fair enough. I generally think it's going to go a little bit higher, but I would be expecting pullback somewhere around, let's just call it like 85 cents. Maybe it's back to like 90 cents, something like that first. But, generally higher first, then pullback. All right, cool. Anyways, let's see. Oh, okay. All right. What the fuck? Okay. Fair enough. Very strange fucking comment, man. Maybe I'm reading this out of context or something, but relax, perhaps. Have you tried going outside? Elsa says, take a chill pill. I don't know. Maybe some people are like beating up on him or some shit like that. No Barry says, order on the weekly, please. Sure, man. Let's look at this one. I remember this one was popular from Monday because probably it had a nice little upside move as well, and indeed it did. And what has it done since then? Actually, yesterday, nice little selling dildo right there. But yeah, this sort of stuff, it always concerns me when I see these things pump out of nowhere. But I actually would treat this as okay, at least for now, more or less as long as you're above today's low. You can see today's low perfectly aligning with the red 5 EMA. Looks like my LARP lines are not going to play out here. Instead of going sideways, going upwards and sideways, which is certainly better than going sideways. But I would say generally kind of have to be looking for upside as long as you're above literally this line right here at about 34 and a quarter or so. Also the red 5 EMA on the daily time frame as well. But the second that you come back down below there and close it daily below there, I'd say, yeah, this thing has just blown off its top and it's coming back down significantly. But until then, follow the trend. Yes, of course, a move like this is going to have me generally, skeptical, but hey, until she comes back down below this number right here, I would say it's technically speaking, it's okay. It's okay. Monthly generally looks okay as well, so don't hate that. If it does lose about 34 and a quarter, I would be looking somewhere down around about 25 to 26 cents, which is a big percentage move for something like this, at these numbers. All right, cool. Let's see what else we got going on the chats. We have Freddie M. He says, Hive, weekly, monthly, how high? Dip first. Hive, is this the crypto or the Stonk? Because we actually got both of these as well. Hopefully it's not the crypto, but let's see. Well, crypto looks like absolute shit. Weekly, monthly, how high does it dip first? I don't fucking know. Maybe, hopefully you're talking about the stock, because this one just goes down, man. This one just goes down. This one also pretty shitty as well. For fuck's sake, man. Honestly, if I'm looking at the stock, I think you're generally topping out somewhere around here. I think absolute best case scenario, you get a spike up to like $5, $5.25, something like that. But I wouldn't be expecting this thing to really flip around any major mega trends here. This is a pump and dump piece of shit, to be honest. Looking at the quarterly, again, this place, the yellow moving average, the 21 EMA on the quarterly time frame makes a lot of sense for the next major rejection. Can you get a wick above? Sure, probably do get a wick above. So I wouldn't, rule out a short-term continuation of the rally, but I would be looking for it to get rejected at some point. That's exactly what we've gotten throughout the past, 3, 4, 5 years, going back to 2022. Again, I'm assuming you're talking about this thing. Only way I changed my mind around this thing is if you, long term, if you got back above 680. So, I do think it will spike a little bit higher here. Maybe it gets up to like 480, maybe even $5, maybe even 5.25. But I'd generally be looking for it to top out somewhere, probably this quarter, honestly, a little bit higher than where it's at right now, and then come back down into normality as these things typically do. Daily time frame, I'd treat as bullish as long as you're above that Friday, the 26th of September low, which is about $3.50. So yeah, in fact, this even kind of looks like it's breaking out of its little flag formation right now here too. All right, cool. I'm not going to say this name. It's a name that YouTube would not like, but I will just abbreviate it in MKG. MKG. All right. I almost fucking read it too, man. That's the problem when I'm a little bit underslept, is I will just fucking read things without even looking at them. I wonder if that is your real avatar, though. Probably not. I'll put it this way. His avatar looks like someone who just arrived in a small boat to England. He's looking for Snap. I'm guessing this is Snapchat. Snapchat, I remember when this thing went IPO. This was a long time ago. 1 day and 3 day and the weekly. Daily, this is just garbage here, of course. Daily time frame, another swing high, rejection of the 200 simple. I think you're more likely to come back down to these lows at $7 than have any real upside. Weekly time frame, more garbage here as well. Again, I'd be significantly more biased towards this thing coming back down to this all-time low, I think. Sorry, it is technically not the all-time low, but the low, the same low that you saw in September probably even goes a little bit lower than that. Overall, just garbage, man. Just fucking garbage on this thing. I don't really know why you want to look at a 3 day, but the monthly time frame does have a hidden bearish divergence. I think most of that's already played out, but overall, man, this is just fucking absolute garbage. Nothing bullish about this thing as long as you're below the last week's high of about $9.30. As long as you're below there, I'd just be looking for this thing to continue on with its long-term downtrend. This is just, this is a pump and dump, fucking Burj Khalifa pattern, pseudo crypto garbage chart is what it is. And actually, we have even my former charting tools on it, so it must have been many, many moons ago that we even looked at this thing. It's been quite some time, man. The conservative cat said VZLA stonk. VZLA stonk. Daily, weekly, please and thank you. All good, man. So this is some sort of silver corporation. It is bullish as fuck, similar to silver, but this one's actually making new all-time highs, whereas silver has not yet. Anyways, you're looking at daily, weekly. Overall, anything that's making new all-time highs is, is generally going to be good. I have no reason to believe that this thing won't continue to make new all-time highs. Is this already today? Hold on. Does this make sense for today? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Holy shit. This thing just mooned up today immediately from the open. Yeah, powerful. Look, on stuff like this, there's really not a great way to kind of judge it. I'm generally going to be bullish on it. Looking for new all-time highs. I think you'll at least get to like 470. You'll probably get a short-term pullback there. If things do extend more, perhaps you get up to like 540, 550-ish region, something like that. But that's a much more long-term play based off the monthly. If you're looking at the daily and the weekly, I'd just be bullish here, man. Yeah, this move is getting quite exaggerated and and extreme, but I do think it's likely to make new highs first before you do get any sort of a meaningful pullback, and a move towards like somewhere around $5. That nice round even number would kind of make a lot of sense before the next pullback. Overall, this is very, very good, especially as long as you're above the last day of September's low, which is four and a quarter. Yeah, 4.25. So just generally bullish as long as you're above there, man. If you do take out yesterday's low, which I don't think is going to happen today, but if it were to happen, I guess I'd be looking for a correction first, maybe back down to like $4 even. But again, I think very unlikely. Anyways, Nero's Art says, appreciate your analysis, but the point regarding green September to green October is just misleading as it has several statistical and logical fallacies. Okay, thank you for your opinion. Stats are stats. Don't care. I'm sorry, man. I don't mean to be rude in that way, but realistically, a stat is a fucking stat, man. Is it misleading to say that whenever September is closed green, October has always been, or sorry, not October, but the fourth quarter? So you couldn't even get it fucking right, man. To be honest, like, you logically don't even understand what the hell I'm saying, and then you want to critique it, which it just, I don't know, man. It fucking blows my mind that people can have such strong opinions on something without even getting the initial preposition correct. Look, the data is this: when September is closed green, which is only done 6 times in Bitcoin's history, the Q4, not just October could be red, November could be red, December could be red, any one of them could be red. But if you look at the totality of Q4 from open to close, for fuck's sake, get at least that goddamn part right before you start shooting shit at me. Then yes, that has been green every time. That is a statistic. It is what it is, man. Your opinion of that is just your opinion of that. I think you are letting your own emotions getting in the way, probably because probably because it goes against whatever you want to happen, which is fair enough. But I will not back off of a point that is quite literally mathematically true. It is just true. Whenever you've seen a green September, you have seen a generally very green Q4, not October. So get it right first. But yeah, man, if you want to disagree with that, that's fine. But you cannot disagree with a literal fact, like a literal fucking, this is what blows my mind. Like, there's things to disagree about, of course, but to disagree about like a mathematical equation, okay, 2 + 2 = 5. Thanks for letting me know. Steven Schickman says, GM, sorry I'm late. And also men can get pregnant. GM, sorry I'm late. All good, man. Doggy weekly monthly. Gotcha, man. All right, let's go with, oh wait, I don't even know why I'm typing it in. I got it over here already. This one still remains above all major. Again, man, I'm just so fucking skeptical of this thing. But this is why I have rules like this, because I can, my opinion is more likely to be wrong than the actual analysis. And in this case, yeah, still above that red 5 EMA. It has risen up to about 22.5 cents. So I would go as far to say, as long as you're above there, it is actually more wise to be bullish. The monthly stochastic oscillator has gotten its first cross the upside since, I mean, yeah, you did have a small stint over here in November of last year, but realistically, this is more comparable to what we saw in November of 2023, a year earlier than that. And it is also kind of playing out this long-term regression from the 2022 lows. So if I had to look at it, I mean, if I'm looking at it right now, if I'm just going off of the straight up analysis, yeah, it has to be, it has to be biased towards the upside. Again, if you do take out 22.5 cents to the downside, especially on like a weekly closure, I would be very quick to switch my opinion around on that, or sorry, the analysis around on that. But for right now, man, I mean, it's continuing to, I mean, it's just, at the very least, it's just not breaking down. So fair enough. Have to be respectful in that way. I'm curious what the quarterly looks like as well. Quarterly did not close in an ideal position, but it's also not bad. It would have been much better if it did close above the Q2's high, which was 26 cents. Obviously, it traded above there intra-quarter for Q3, but did not close above there. It would have been a much easier call to be bullish on this thing if it did. In this case, you can easily see a pullback, maybe to reconnect with that red moving average at some point during this quarter. But ultimately, again, as long as it's upside angled here, the bias is to the upside, and the quarterly stochastic oscillator is actually going to get out of the bearish control zone for the first time since, for the first time in a very long time. So, yeah, not bad. Not bad. Perhaps I'm letting my own opinion get in the way of this one, but still, I feel so obligated to say, look, the second that you see this thing come back down below 22 cents or 22.5 cents, close a weekly below there, or even come back down just below the low of September, I think that would also be good enough. That's 20.5 cents. At that point, I'd be very comfortable saying, hey, this is the failure. This thing is coming down to mid-teens, something like this. But this is why I have these rules, because these things just continue to trend above. Can't hate it right now. Anyway, Steven Schickman then comes back and he says, Ethereum weekly monthly. Let's check out this one. We have Ethereum. Whoops, that's euro. Not necessarily the same thing. Let's look at the quarterly first. I just want to see how this one closed. Did it close above 4,100 or not? It did. It did. So the reason why I focused bigly on the quarterly close here is if it could close above 4,100, then it would get above the exact same area that it's been rejected from for the past about 2 years. Wait. Yeah, almost 2 years now, since this swing high right here. And it actually did close a hair above there. But hey, a hair above there is good enough in my book. Now, again, if it did want to pull back at some point in this quarter, it very well could. And you know, maybe it pulls back down somewhere around this breakout from what would be something resembling like a symmetrical triangle from the price action pivots trendline extensions here. You know, maybe it pulled back to like 35, 36, 3,700. Something like that, if it does at all. But ultimately, I would look at that as a fine thing. That, you know, that would be Bitcoin pulling back to $100,000. I don't have any major issues with that. You know, it'd still be overall bullish, and that very likely would be a major opportunity. Overall, I do think that this one will make a new high this quarter as well. The question is it a pullback first and then make a new high, or does it just make a new high and, you know, pullback is canceled for a while? That's the question that I really don't have an answer to, because I imagine it's going to be predicated on whatever Bitcoin does. And I mean, if Bitcoin gets back above that September swing high, for me, it's going to be really hard to be looking for a pullback first. And by the way, this is what I mean by the historical price action indicator right here. You saw that first push into the average returns range high was pulled back. This second one, there is a significant less probability of of this happening for the second time, or at least I wouldn't be taking a trade like that. So just again, if you were here during the early push into the stream, just understand if you're looking for it to play out again, I would not do it personally. I would not do it personally. But yeah, as far as Ethereum goes, that's what I say about that, man. Anyways, Freddie M says, no, we did that already. I guess I'm repeating this one. Oh, no, you did it twice. All right, fair enough. Get With The Hype says 155 Bitcoin is the 2 spot 168 previous cycles fib retrace. You mean fib extension. But I don't doubt. I'm going to guess you mean Fibonacci extension, because it literally could not be a retracement if it's higher than Bitcoin's prior all-time high price, right? Your 2168. The 2168 is not a. Oh, you mean, okay, sorry, you mean the 2618. You mean the 2618, okay. You're throwing me off there because your dyslexia is fucking up with my dyslexia. Yeah, the 2618 would be 155, yeah, 100%. And that also, at some point, would align with the price action pivots trendline extension here. Now, that would be much further in the future, to be fair. That would be February 2026. So I guess, well, it's not that far in the future, I suppose, but yeah, perhaps relevant, possible, I suppose. Anyways, Aaron Shah Nazari, I think I said it right this time, man. What's up, man? There's a weekly trend line on Tether.T. I think you mean okay, all of these fuck ups in the chat. I don't mean you guys like a fuck up, but like the grammatical mistakes are like really fucking with me today, because I am not very well slept, and these are very hard to decipher right now. I think you meant Tether dominance, not Tether T. I'm gonna type in Tether T just to make sure. Okay, yeah, nothing pops up. I'm quite confident you probably meant Tether dominance, at least hopefully. Let me know if I'm wrong, man. Anyways, you're saying there's a weekly trend line on Tether dominance since December 2017. Chances it breaks 373, and what happens if it does? Well, of course, you already know what happens if it does. There's going to be a tremendously nasty rally, the likes of which you'll never see, or if you've never seen. But from let's first measure out exactly what you're saying. So from December 2017, I'm guessing you're doing this on a log scale chart. It's probably not going to make much sense on a linear. And let's start exactly from where you're talking about, which was December 2017. Okay, so that'd be here. Okay, so you're just in my opinion, you're drawing a random line, man. It's like, where do you anchor it towards? Do you anchor it towards this low? Well, that's already obviously been broken. Is it this low? Is it this low? Is it this low? That's why I have very big issues with this sort of stuff. Now, if we put it on linear, does it get any better? Again, like, I feel like we're just fitting the fucking line to the data. This is my big issue with drawing lines. It's like, where do you start it? Where do you finish it? Where do you where do you anchor it? I mean, over here, you would have anchored it on this low, and guess what? It broke it in 2024 December. Now, did that matter then? No, it rallied back up, and Bitcoin had a major pullback. So, like, do I care that much about it? No. What I do care about, however, is the fact that Bitcoin has been Tether Dominance has been finding the lows in this same area around about 380, 390. For the past few years. So if it did break below those lows, that would be a significant change of behavior. I mean, you already know what's going to happen if Bitcoin does break below there. You don't need my opinion on this, man. It's going to go significantly lower. I don't fucking know how low it's going to go. I don't think that technical analysis really works that well on this chart. But if I had to guess, somewhere around low 2%, that would be a tremendously amazing rally. I imagine crypto-wide, that would probably be the alt season that most people are looking for if it's going to happen at all. But even, this chart getting back down to those official lows, which was about 375 or 380, as you said, that would still be major upside pressure on Bitcoin and probably most cryptos as well. For example, the same level was hit in March of 2024 as was January 2024, but Bitcoin was significantly higher in January of 2025 versus March of 2024. So even if it just gets back around here, that would still imply Bitcoin likely, gets much higher. So if it were to break, so what I'm trying to say is it doesn't need to break this number in order for Bitcoin to like make new highs or anything like that. I mean, shit, man, Bitcoin would probably make new highs even if it got down to like 410, if I had to guess. But yeah, what are the chances it breaks 373? I mean, you do have a look. If TA really worked on this, I would say the chances are actually very good. The reason why is because you have a downtrend. You have a downtrend on the monthly time frame. You also have what would be a bearish formation here, descending triangle, if you will. Same lows with declining highs. That's going to have a downwards bias. Now, of course, you could very easily get another rally off this region and then break it, something like that. It's also possible as well with another lower high coming in around about 5 or 5.25 before the big breakdown. But yeah, that's what I'd say about that. If we are going off of actual TA, I would say the probability of it is actually like rather high just because of trend. But I don't know. I feel like we don't really see that play out all that well with this chart over time. So I'll kind of leave it at that. You can draw your own conclusion as Bitcoin heads back above the very girthy price of 117. Holy fucking moly! Very nice. Very, very nice indeed. All right, let's see. We got Biff the Bear next. He says, Bert, short and long term. Sure, man. This is Bert coin, I'm guessing. Are these meme coin shit coins back in play again? Is that what's going on? I mean, it's definitely better than most shit coins just because it actually has been going up over the past few months. Most of them have been going just, generally down. So that puts it in a class above most of these damn things. If I'm going off of the weekly here, representing the long term, I would look at this exact low from middle of September at about 5 cents or just below 5 cents. As long as you're above there, actually would be favoring upside price action, maybe somewhere around 10 to 11 cents overall. Yeah, somewhere between 10 and 11 cents overall. And I would generally be biased towards that happening, again, as long as you're above this low. If you were to take out that low, then it's probably going to enter into the long-term downtrend that most of these things are destined for. But, if I'm just going off of this right now, this has actually been quite constructive, and it does stand out amongst most shitcoins because at least it's been going up in recent times in a very nice and orderly uptrend. Most of the shitcoins have not. So that does put it in its own class. This is a nice little consolidation right here. So again, no major risk with this, man. Like I said, I'd be biased towards this thing going towards 10 to 11 cents as long as you're above that low. If you do lose this low, then yeah, I mean, probably joins the rest of the shitcoins in their shitcoin garbage can, I suppose. But yeah, for now, okay. Anyways, Chris Vela is back. He's looking at Dave Daily. I swear, man, you have new coins every time. What the fuck is this? This is an actual stock. Or is it a stock? Hold on. Wait, damn it. Okay. Yeah, I think it's a stock actually, because nothing's popping up when I do the old crypto USD pair there. God, it might as well be a crypto shitcoin though. Like it trades like one, right? Just 1 second, man. I'll take a sip of this water, then we'll get to it. Look, I'm never going to hate a consolidation after a rally, but this one's kind of similar to the last one that we just looked at in that, yeah, it's a decent rally right here. It is holding up high, and that's generally good. But if you will lose your consolidation strength if you do really start to trade below about 168 and especially close a daily below there. Below there, I'd say, hey, this thing's falling apart. Get ready for just general downside again. But until then, man, yes, the recent trend has been to the upside. I'll be respectful of that, of course. I would call the next breakout if it can trade and close back above 250 right here. At that point, you're very likely going to retest. I mean, almost guaranteed to retest this high. Probably makes new highs on this rally to $300. 300 to 325 region if that were to happen. But again, if it loses this number right here, 168, at that point, I would say, no, just throw it back into the fucking garbage drawer. Until then, yeah, okay. We'll say kind of the same thing as the last one. Consolidation at a high level, not a bad thing for sure. Dogecoin, yep, we already did Dogecoin, so we're good there. DT says Ethereum USD on the 4-hour, hopefully reload at 4K. Okay, so relatively low term time frame for Ethereum here. Again, high term time frames, like I said, pullbacks can happen, but that's fine. 4-hour time frame, I'm sure the TA bros are going to be calling this one an inverted herp and derp. I guess it kind of is. You're right around the 4-hour 200 simple moving average right here. So generally, I'm always going to look for, at least a stall around this region. So that would officially be like 4350-ish region. I think it's probably going to grind up in there. And then, I don't know, does it continue or not? That's a real question. That is kind of where you would be expecting on a lower high if this one is going to try lower. Yeah, there is a lot of reason to believe that it probably does pull back a little bit from there. Honestly, kind of a hard one for me because this is about the area. I think it's going to go a little bit higher, at least a little bit higher. But this would be the area right here that you'd be expecting a pullback from if you're going to get a pullback. If you don't pull back from this region, then I guess it's just fucking bullish green dildos to the moon and beyond, 4,500 plus at that point. But if you are going to get a pullback, this would be the area that I'd be looking for. Let's just call it 4380-ish. Slightly higher, slightly lower, somewhere around there. If it's going to pull back, this is very likely where it comes from. If you don't see any sort of reversal formations coming on here, at that point, I'd say, this thing's just more likely to head up to not even 45, but probably 46. I mean, at that point, this thing's just going to head back up to these highs here, realistically. So it's like, what sort of a time frame do you want to look on? But yeah, if there ever was a place for it to pull back, it's more or less slightly higher than where it's at right now. Hopefully reloads at 4K. I don't think, if it comes back down to 4K, I don't think it's going to stop there. I do think you'd at least get back down to this low from 24th of September at about 38.25. What I'm trying to say is I don't see the relevancy of 4,000. I think you either absolutely fucking bust through this, this number, or it's going to pull back decently more. If it fails here and comes back down to these lows, yeah, I think you'll get a bounce along the way, probably around this prior low. But at that point, I do think that you'd get that move down to like 36, 37, 38, somewhere in that pocket there. That would be the reload. And then I'd be looking for big upside. But that's probably like way past your time frames. But that would be more or less the reconnect with the quarterly red 5 EMA right there. So, if it did that, I would look at that as a major opportunity, honestly, which is why I don't think it would just like stop at 4,000. I think you'd be going decently lower than that, close to almost 10%. So, I think that that's worth acknowledging. Anyways, Mike's Mind and Matter says, hey, Crown, could you please look at WXT token? Okay, so this must be some sort of a crypto shit token. Native token of WeX Exchange. Well, to be fair, the exchange tokens actually generally do quite well, to be fair. Let's see if this one is among those. And yeah, it very much is. Now, don't ask me about the legitimacy of it. Who the fuck knows about that? But you are asking about the daily, weekly, and monthly. There's really not much of history here to be looking at a monthly. If I'm looking at the monthly, I'd have a really hard time with this. You can make a good argument that last month was a bit of a shooting star dildo. Of course, the way that I look at things is that it's not confirmed as a reversal until you're back below the low of the reversal dildo, which in this case would be the low of September. So that would be about a little over 3.5 cents. If we go over here to the daily time frame, I mean, it's kind of similar to Ethereum. I think it's going to spike a little bit higher in the very short term, maybe like 4.1 cents or somewhere around there. But if you're going to get a pullback, that's very likely where it comes from, somewhere in this pocket right here, something like this. And if you are going to get a pullback at that point, I do think you drop a little bit lower, and then you'd probably have your upside try. Something like that, man. Something like that. But if I was in your shoes and given what you said after that, so I'm taking on your perspective here in that you said you have a lot and you want to sell. I would sell some right now. I would sell. You don't have to sell all of it, man. You don't have to sell all of it. You never have to sell everything. You can sell some. You can sell some and it'll feel good. And I think that this is a fine area to sell, at least some of that position personally. If I was in your position, I am not in your position. I am not you. I cannot make decisions for you, obviously. But if I was in that sort of scenario, I would be selling at least some here. Personally, I'd sell probably about 30% up to 50%, and I'll sell the rest if it did take out the September low. Yeah, that's what I say about that. And I'll just keep the rest in case if it does go fucking moon mode. Because that is, I guess, possible at this point. Bitcoin really starts to push through here. Anyway, straight past this beautiful M close on CLSK. Where is it heading? Oh, you mean monthly close? Okay. Sorry. It's like, wait, what? M close? That's a new formation. Actually, no, it's not. The murder close. Yeah, we went over this one earlier. Again, it did close above 1370, which was that high from July of this year. So that was significant for me. There might be a pullback, like I said, if it does, somewhere back down around that breakout area of $13.50. But ultimately, I think that this one is heading higher. So I definitely agree with you in this case. Somewhere between $18 to $20 is where I'd be looking for. Something like that, man. Take another sip of this water. I'm really thirsty. WNC says LRG liquidation at 106K and what is LRG the ticker? Okay, I'm just gonna try this. No, I'm not. I don't understand. Oh, do you mean large liquidation? Okay, sir. Like, guys, stop using fucking abbreviations for shit. Like, we're so lazy. I can't. I'm having a really difficult time understanding a lot of these. I think what you mean is large liquidation at 106 and 119. Go low first, then moon mode. I mean, personally, like I said, I would prefer a pullback first and then go up. That would look a lot more constructive to me. But am I going to call like that's definitely going to happen? I think it's more probabilistically likely, but shit, Bitcoin's a lot closer to 119 right now than it is 106. So, I'll as always go back to those setups that we were looking at, particularly near the end of September, and I'm always going to call back to that and say, hey, that is still there. That is still likely. And those targets are still down around about 105-ish, give or take a little bit from that number. So that kind of fulfill your 106 region. But hey, I mean, if Bitcoin takes out this high right here, it's going to be very difficult for me to see something like that happening. I mean, geez, strength begets strength, typically speaking. So to kind of wrap up my thoughts on that, it's like I would prefer that happens because to me, it would imply that this market cycle is more healthy. It's going to go on for a longer time and ultimately higher. But doesn't mean that it has to do that. I mean, that's just what it would imply to me if it were to happen. Anyways, Freddie M says BITF weekly, monthly. How high? Dip first. This is Bitfarms, some sort of a Bitcoin miner, and it actually is on NASDAQ now. I remember when this thing was trading OTC, like a little coin, very very long ago. Overall, I actually do think that it will try higher from here. Yeah, the monthly I definitely don't hate. Obviously, it did not confirm its breakout, which would have been confirmed if it did close above 3.25. That was your swing high from June of last year. But it is in a strong position here. And while it very easily could pull back to open up this month, maybe somewhere around $2.40 to $2.50, the bias is on the upside for this one. And it does have a real shot to actually break that and have a real breakout here, which it hasn't done in a very long time. Momentum remains the upside on this thing as long as you have 97 cents. It's literally 3x from that, more than 3x from that number right now. So not bad. And if it can just reclaim this high, there will be stops along the way, obviously, but I'd be looking for this thing to head up to $4.50, $5. It looked very good, man. It looked really fucking good. How high? Dip first. I would prefer a dip first here. I think that this one's probably more likely to play a little bit of a downside move first. Maybe something like this, like test this high here, comes back down, boom, puts in a higher low, then your big move to the upside after a higher low on like the weekly or a reconnect on the monthly. That just looked better to me. But again, ultimately, I think you're going higher. So it's similar to Bitcoin. It's like, do we get a pullback first? Do we go higher first? I think you're going higher overall. Pullback is not guaranteed, but that's where I'd be looking maybe load some up if I were looking to get in a position on something like this. You also have a monthly higher low here as well. Like, these things are significant, so I do like that. Already retesting that high. I mean, bias has to be on a breakout, in my opinion. Crypto Tiger says, GM, hate from Germany. Lots of hate from Germany. Very, very, very nice. A shitcoin stonk, please. DRH. Thank you for specifying it is indeed a stonk. That was very helpful. I'm guessing you're talking about the one on Nicey. Maybe you're talking about the one on, because you are German, maybe it's Drone Shield, but let's check out this one first. This one obviously very, very fucking bad. So shitcoin stonk, this one would be a shitcoin for sure. I would be looking at September's highs, probably the next lower high in a series of lower highs before this thing heads back down. Probably back down at least to like 715, maybe even all the way back down to your April lows. Just very, very bad. Maybe you meant Drone Shield. Let's see if this chart's any better. It's significantly better. This would not be a shitcoin chart. So perhaps you did mean the other one. I don't know. It's hard to say. Wow, overall really fucking strong, man. Super strong. I'm gonna guess you were probably talking about the other one if you're calling it a shitcoin. This one, if you were talking about this one, again, you might get a pullback down to like low $3. I would think that that's fine. This thing is overall bullish. It's overall going to make very likely new highs. Probably this month, at least in this quarter. I mean, look at the quarterly right here. Jesus Christ, insane. It is Drone Shield. Okay, all right, fair enough. Sorry, you literally said right below there. My apologies. I'm the redact here. If you're just looking at the daily time, I do think that you're hitting a high relatively soon, if not already. The reason why I say that is because volatility is at extremes right now. I think usually you're going to see it remain at extremes for multiple closures before it plays out, a reversion play and cools off on volatility. But, maybe it spikes this number a few more times. Maybe it officially gets like $4 first and then pulls back. But I would be really biased towards a general pullback very soon. I imagine you probably are working on some bearish divergence here too. Let's just check. Let's see. Is it building there? Actually, technically not yet. In fact, today's RSI is in fact higher than what we saw from July. So surprising, honestly. But yeah, I guess that does continue to make a bullish bias if it does get a short-term pullback. But like I said, when you get to volatility extremes like this, it usually stays for, multiple bars at extremes like this, like 3, 4, 5, and then cools off. That's typically when you get your high probability pullback. So yeah, I wouldn't say just yet. Yeah, I wouldn't say just yet, honestly. Binary God says XRP futures on Bybit daily and 4 hour. Is there any way to get price action statistics as a standalone? Yeah, if you email elsa.crowntrading@outlook.com, I know it's a mouthful, but it's elsa.crowntrading@outlook.com. She can set up something for you so that you can get it as a standalone. That's completely fine. I think it'll be, if memory serves me correctly, about $200 as a standalone. If not, you can try it. You can try it out for free in the Caretaker's Indicator Suite package. But yeah, man, it says, we can definitely do that. You just need to email her and she'll set it up for you. Anyways, look at XRP shitcoin. I imagine this one's probably following back around $3. We did say that this one is likely to rally back up somewhere in this red circle. This is kind of my zone of concern. It sounds so stupid. I'm concerned, troll. What I mean is that, if this thing is going to reject, this is kind of the area for it to do it from. Anywhere between about $3 on the lower end to about $3.05 on the upper end. If you see a rejection around here, that's where I'd say, hey, this thing is actually in real jeopardy of a real breakdown. Because one more rejection in this region, very likely to break down after that. I mean, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lower highs. Be very hard not to see that. But that also does imply in the short term, it probably does head a little bit higher. 4 hour time frame as you asked for. Yeah, probably spikes a little bit higher into this pocket here. Let's say $3 on the lower end to $3.05 on the upper end. If you start to see it get significantly above $3.05, I would say you actually have a likely reversal on your hand confirmed if and when it does get back above this high here, the same high that we've had marked off for a while, 314. That's where I confirm bullishness for like the long term, I suppose. But I don't know how relevant that is to you on a daily or 4 hour. So yeah, short term up. Be cognizant of this area right here, because if it is going to reject and be bearish, that's where it very likely come from. Mr. Aaron, he's back. He says following Tether dominance. Nice. Okay, we got it spelled right this time. I know which one you're talking about, so that's good. Bitcoin dominance has also broken its weekly trend. Your opinion if Bitcoin dominance breaks 39.30 in this bull market? I just don't know how much Bitcoin dominance matters. So did it break the weekly trend? Okay, so I fear that you are putting way too much emphasis on lines. Look, does this even matter to begin with? You have one line you have one point connected with another point, and then it never even gets played ever again. Does it matter? I don't know if it actually matters, man. I really don't think it does on these things. Again, keep in mind the Bitcoin dominance chart calculation is comparing every last little shitcoin in this calculation, and most things in this market are not just like down only, they're literally irrelevant. The amount of coins on coin market cap is, I think it's above 100,000. It's insane amounts, man. So I just don't know how worthy this data is. And I certainly don't put any emphasis on this trend line right here. I don't think it matters. Now, if I'm looking at this, and if the question is quite literally, do I think that Bitcoin dominance will come back down to this low at 39.30 during this bull market cycle? No, I don't think so. I also don't think it matters. I don't think that you need it to come back down here or certainly break this. I mean, for fuck's sake, to break this, which would be lower lows than what you saw in 2022 and in 2018 during, these were real insane altcoin market cycles. You don't need to break that number for things to go fucking crazy. So my point is that you can have, you can have alts be very fucking bullish without really getting any major downside on this chart. We've seen that throughout this cycle multiple times. We saw memes rally. When memes were rallying, this thing was straight up here. That was in 2024, late 2024. This thing was straight up. We saw AI narrative play out. That was in early 2023. So again, straight up over here, but those things were going 100x and beyond. You don't need that to necessarily happen, in my opinion. And if anything, I think Bitcoin dominance is going back up here again. I don't think it's going to go back up to this high or anything like that. But, if it pops back up to like 61, 62%, that's fine. Still in an overall downtrend, to be fair. But, next move is probably an upside move after finding a swing low right here. Still bearish overall, but, it could go like this and then come back down. My point is that do I think it's going to break this low over here? Basically, do I think that we're going to get a bigger alt season than fucking 2018? Hell no. Because every alt season year after year is less and less impressive. That's kind of my point. So yeah, do I think it'll break there? No, I also don't think it matters. I think that you can get massively bullish price action on, especially the newer shitcoins, without anything like that even remotely close to happening. My speech is also fucking redacted today too. I apologize about it. Like I said, woke up at 5:30 today. Did not want to wake up at 5:30. It is what it is, man. Life goes on. Anyways, Kyle McDonald's is next. He says, can you scope ZEC? You know what's crazy about ZEC? After talking shit about it the other day, I saw Naval Ravikant shill this thing this morning. Naval Ravikant, out of all people. Even the wise can get carried away in shitcoin heaven. Anyway, Zcash here. Look, man, I'm never going to be bullish on a chart that looks like this long term. Do I think it could spike a little bit higher? I remember when we looked at it earlier this week. I believe it was Monday. I was probably calling for a high about right here, to be honest, or about where it was. Obviously, that's going to be wrong. Now, if it did head higher, that blue moving average is about where I'd be looking at. It's now a little bit higher than there. It's going to be a long month left to go, but I do think you'd probably top out somewhere around here, to be honest, man. For me to get bullish on something that looks like this, and to imply that it's going to get anywhere close to taking out, your 2021, 2022 highs, I just think it's very, 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 very unlikely. You have to understand where I come from. I come from looking at history and expecting these trends to continue. I'm always going to go with that. It's basically what we've been doing for shitcoins, for everything, Bitcoin included, since this channel began, and that has been right on the overwhelming majority of shitcoins for the last 7, 8 years. I have no reason to believe that this thing is going to be anything different at all. And if I had to call it, I think that you're very likely creating a high basically right around here. Maybe it goes a little bit higher towards 120. I think it's possible. I mean, this is a pretty impressive move, to be fair. But yeah, I don't think it's going to have any real longevity for this move, just to be super, super clear. I almost think that Naval Ravikant maybe got hacked on Twitter or something. He should know that this thing is just, it's fucking Zcash, Zuko Cash, it's nothing like Bitcoin at all. You can just print more money, more of these things out of thin air. Anyways, if you're on the daily time frame, which is what you actually specifically asked for, Yeah, I don't think that the run's done here just yet. This is a good example as well of daily volatility getting to extremes. You're likely going to see this one be at extremes for another few days at least. And during that time, this thing can float up and make new highs. So maybe it does spike above $100, maybe 120 to 125 at most, in my opinion. But I do think you've seen the majority of this move, again, just shooting you straight. That is my opinion, though. That is my opinion, not like hard analysis or anything like that. Chris Fellows says, MicroStrategy daily, weekly. Sure. Let's look at this one, MSTR. See how this one's doing. It should be having a pretty good bounce here. Let me go to NAS. There we go. We did say a bounce from the low last we looked at it. The lower lines are not time friendly or anything like that, but it is having a pretty good bounce. I don't know how fucking anal do I want to be about this one fulfilling this test of 270 or 275 first before reversing. To be fair, if I'm going off of the price action pivots indicator, these trendline extensions here actually are kind of getting this low, or at least suggesting this area is of relevancy. I don't know how much it matters personally. Let's see. You would technically have potential for hidden bullish divergence here. Yeah, you actually have potential for hidden bullish divergence here. Maybe that is low. Again, when we were looking at this thing a couple months ago, when it was trading at around $400, I was saying somewhere around 270 to 300. It got down to 292. Am I being too anal about this getting all the way down to my target? I think so. I think it's very likely I am, because you already have potential for hidden bullish divergence here, and this is a significantly higher low that you see in September at 320 versus the prior low at 255, 256 from February of this year. So if you're bullish, I think you kind of have to be looking at this as the low. And if this is the low, then that means Bitcoin also has to have the low in as well. Yeah, it's going to, if I'm going to be wrong about this, I'm going to be so fucking wrong. It's going to be so goddamn embarrassing. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, I would be biased towards this being the next low. I think based off of the close for September, that information has to change that official downside target. When I go to the quarterly, yeah. If the quarterly takes out last quarter's low, this is going to be a real reversal. This is not going to be just down to 275 and then up. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I am going to be wrong on that one for sure. That 292 low was the low for September. So if it does trade below there and hits 270, that will make a new low. This is going to look like a real reversal. And then, that's just market cycle over at that point. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. See what a daily looks like. Daily, maybe a short-term pullback relatively soon after it hits somewhere around 350-ish. This prior high here, also the 200 simple on the daily, somewhere around there. And I do think at some point in this month, it might come back down to 310 or something like that, but just don't want to see it take out those September lows more or less, especially not on a weekly closure. Anyways, random Midwest family. Very nice. Very, very beautiful. Please give me your thoughts on CRO coin. Thank you. I can give you my thoughts. Timeframes would certainly help if you want to be maybe a little more relevant to your own interests. But looking at the daily right here, I do think a lot of these things are going to extend these rallies a little bit more short term, about 21.5 cents for this thing. If things get really crazy, maybe it does spike 23, 24 cents again. That's definitely possible. Long term, again, I'm never going to like a chart like this, man. I'm never going to like a chart like this. It could spike up here a little bit more. I remember we looked at this one early last week / late last week. I said balance, but overall, I would be bearish on shit like this. Can I be wrong about it? If I am to be wrong, now is the time for me to be very much wrong on it. Because when I look at the monthly, this thing, if it doesn't go lower than this low, yeah, then that's going to be a real breakout as well. And this thing's going to head back up to half a buck, 45 cents to 50 cents, if that happens. But there's a really, really easy way to judge this one. And it's staring us right in front of our faces right now. It's 18-cent low from September. As long as you're above there, I actually do think that there's some hopium here. And I even do think, regardless of hopium, we're going to at least try a little bit of short-term upside to open up October. Let's call it 21.5 cents, maybe even as high as 24 cents, something like that. Doesn't really confirm anything just yet. What does get confirmed is if you can trade back above basically September's highs, that would be extremely bullish. But yeah, I want to be super fucking clear about this one because I am like, really feel like I'm going back and forth here a lot. But that just is the name of the game right now. If you do see closures below this low at 18 cents, at that point, I think that this thing will fail. And you'll see this thing, it's going to be bounced along the way, probably around like 14 cents, but it'll ultimately come back down to well below 10 cents. And I'm just generally biased towards shit like that happening for shit like this. So I am skeptical of this one actually pulling through here. Doesn't mean that it's impossible. I'm wrong about these things all the fucking time. But just be really, 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 really clear that if it does lose this low here, I think that's going to be devastating for this thing. Like I said, there's going to be bounce along the way, but that would be my sort of last point for hopium. Until then, I actually do think short term it does try some upside. So if it does take out that low, I think it would happen later in this month, if at all, to be fair. JP says, "Hey Crown, can we riot stock?" Hey Crown, can riots? Oh, sorry. I'm actually retarded today. You said that sentence perfectly. I cannot interpret it perfectly. What you actually said was, "Hey Crown, can riot stock make it back to its all-time high?" It's always possible. It might just not be very highly probable. Now let's see where its all-time high is. Its all-time high is at 3,650 and some odd change, and you are trading at under $20. So you only need about 18,561% and a quarter to make it back to all-time highs. Is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? Hell no. Do I think that you're going to have some more upside from here? Yeah, actually I do. In fact, I feel quite strongly that you will. Maybe back up to like at least $21, probably maybe even 25 or so. But similar to some of the other stocks that we've seen today, like CleanSpark, I do think you could pull back at some point in October, but I just generally think that would be an opportunity. Even if it came back down to like 16 or 17 bucks, that's fine. Just a retest of sort of your breakout over here. Overall, I think that this one is going to really try for a breakout, to be honest. Do I think it's going to get back above this high here? Probably not. Very unlikely, but I do think that it will try higher. I think that's maybe a little more relevant right now. But yeah, but never give up hope, I guess. Never give up hope. Noah Reason says Velvet short term, if already analyzed, nobody. It's a crazy thing, but no one's actually asked about Velvet coin yet. In fact, I don't think anyone's asked about Velvet coin ever. I've literally never seen it myself, so there's that. It's a newer shitcoin, and it does have histories of going up for the last few months. It's better than most, so there's that. Do I think that this is a swing high right here in the making? Yeah, I do, man. I do. Again, just shooting you straight. I don't think that this thing's going to hold it up here, but hey, if you want to go buy the book, we'd be waiting for a closure below this low here, which is 14.5 cents below there. At that point, I'd say, hey, this thing's heading back down to the prior all-time lows, which is really not any real all-time lows, just like from a couple months ago, and likely making new lows. But until then, give it a chance to bounce here. Give it a chance to try for a bounce off of like 15 cents or so. But like I said, if it loses 14, or what was it, 14.5? Hold on, let's go back. 14.5. Yeah, I'd say, all right, this thing's going to fail like most shitcoins do. But yeah, major shooting star dildo right here for last week's closure. Generally going to be a signal of reversal incoming. So probability would be on a reversal there, or higher probability on a reversal. Freddie M is back. He's asking about Mara, weekly, monthly. How high? Dip first. How high on like over what time frame? Again, I wouldn't even know anyways, man. There's no way to know these sort of things. Definitely not as strong as the other one that you asked about from memory. But I do think that this one will try a little bit higher, probably at least around 21.25, 21.5, something like that. For on a monthly, I actually think that this one could even try higher than that. Somewhere around 25, but is that going to happen this month? I don't know what your time frame is, but maybe within the next like 3 to 6 months, something like that. Again, in the short term, does it pull back down and reconnect with like 17.5? If it does, that's fine. That's not a problem for me. Only problems if it comes back down below $17. Until then, I generally would be favoring upside here with those areas in mind. Big area of interest at about 21.5, and then if it can start to trade above there, then I'd extend targets all the way to like 25.5, 26. Yeah, weird chart long term. Is it going to get back above this high? Maybe not. Pricey says QQ on LSE, QQ, the Crine stock. Thank you for specifying the exchange as well. I do appreciate that. Oh, there it is. Okay, got it. All right. Actually pretty good. Actually really, really good. We have a chart that just generally floats up and to the right. I like that. Weekly time frame, however, does indicate that this thing is still likely consolidating. It is a consolidation at the high, so that is good. But I would be looking for next swing down. You know, you just found a swing high, probably going to come back down. I would imagine somewhere around 490, maybe as low as like 470 or somewhere between 490 to 470-ish region. That would still be a higher low, to be fair. Generally, I'd still be bullish on this thing. And also, you know, even if it does come down a little bit, it would still be a reconnect. In fact, even coming down to like 500 would be connected with the 5 EMA here. Quarterly, long term, I'd generally be bullish, especially as long as you're above last quarter's low, which is 450. So as long as you're above 450, I generally would be bullish. I generally think it's going to make new all-time highs this quarter. And you have a really good history here as well, all the way back from 2006, so almost 20 years straight of just sideways and up. Just short term, yeah, I think you come down a little bit more here, something like this, and then try some upside, something like that, man. If I'm drawing out the LARP lines. Anyway, CMAO, he's back, or maybe he's not back, but he is here. He's looking at others chart. Others is the yes, this thing. Okay. I'm guessing you just want to look at the market cap, not the dominance. So this is everything but the top 10 and dollar derivatives. Okay, cool. Yeah, very, very on the nose for how most of these shitcoins look. Look, I will say the same thing. You know, as far as my rules, whenever we see this on the monthly, whenever you're above all major moving averages and still using especially that red 5 EMA to base off of, just like you did in September, I'm not going to be bearish. Now, there's an extremely easy way to get bearish with a very high probability. And that would be if during this month, we see this thing come back down below the low of September, which is 279.25 billion. If you see that, okay, now we have a real reversal. Expect this thing to try some serious sideways and downside, likely back down to your base at about 210-ish billion, something like this. But until that happens, my rules say, my rules for myself say, I have to be bullish on this thing as long as you're above that red 5 EMA, especially as long as you're just using it to base from. That is structurally bullish. But again, big focus on this exact low right here. Below there, big fucking problems. But until then, actually more than likely to head back up towards these highs here, to be fair. So yeah, just calling a spade in this one. All right, I'll get over to the chats here. I just got through all the super chats. Very nice. Sending super gay kisses. Thank you, man. I'm gonna store them in my bunghole. Appreciate that. Just save them for later, I guess. Anyways, Elsa is jealous. I will also store yours there too. No problem. Anyways, Mr. Van Duysen says Unox Rockwurst is deep. Oh, okay. This is wait. What the fuck? Are you speaking Dutch? Are you speaking some freaky deaky Dutch? Bud Fox's Crown. Why are you scared to look at Bitcoin Cash? Well, I'm not scared to, but when I see a really weird comment like that, I'm just going to ignore it because I just don't want to give you the time of day when you're going to be, I don't know, fucking weird like that, man. Am I scared to look at it? No, I think it's a absolute garbage project that has no real longevity and no staying power. As far as charts go, I imagine it's probably just one of those down-only long-term charts, and it has people like you in a community who are similar to the Hex community. You're just really fucking rude to deal with. Like, who asks a question like that? So no, I'm not going to look at it, man. Anyways, Gondor calls for aid. Man, I've been playing an amazing Northern Dunedain campaign. Really, really good. Redacted hate from BC, Canada. Redacted hate received, sir. AAVEUSD for Lil Baller. Sure, man. Let's look at AAVE over here. AAVE, and if it is going to top out, I have it literally doing it right here from the LARP lines. Let's see when we drew this out. Yeah. Okay, maybe a little bit higher towards 295 to 300. But I actually would still be looking at this exact area. Like, this exact area right here is kind of where I'd be expecting on a lower high if it's going to be bearish. That also means if you start to see it, even a little bit above that, that's going to be bullish. And that would be, let's say, like 305, 310. That's where I switch around to saying, no, this thing's going to retest these highs at least. But as of right now, I think you continue this rally a little bit more. I forget if we looked at this one for you last time or if it was for someone else, but I remember drawing this out on, I think it was sometime last week. likely to bounce off this region. We've got that. I think it bounced a little bit higher. I'd be cognizant that you might get a rejection right here, and that very likely would send it back down to about $200. Not terrible, honestly, long term. Still should have a big bounce off of that number there. But yeah, fair enough. Anyways, Crown, you need to play Arc Raider in late October. Game has machine learning AI and PvP. Oh God. I have the most addictive personality when it comes to games. I can't play MMORPGs if that's an MMORPG, because I forget life outside of the game exists. I spent fucking, oh my God, man. When I was a teenager, I got into World of Warcraft somehow. Like I should have never gotten into that, man. And I think I generally played that game for maybe like a couple of years, but you can look at how many hours you played in the game. And I remember doing that. And I remember seeing it was like 150 days. And I remember being so disappointed with myself. And then I continued to play for a little bit longer. And then I stopped. But yeah, man, really, really difficult for me, honestly. Let's look at Aster really quick, and then we'll go to silver. A lot of people ask about Aster, which I imagine probably means it's going up recently because it is very new. I guess we go. Is this? No, this is Binance's thing. This is Binance's new shitcoin, right? Not Bybit, but Binance. It's got a little bit of that. It's got a little bit of Burj Khalifa action going on here. Not a big fan of what it's doing right now. If this thing's bullish, it really should be taking this moment while Bitcoin rallies to go absolutely fucking lunar, and it's not. And I remember last we looked at it on Monday. This might have been the first time we even looked at it, to be honest, maybe last Friday. But I did highlight this low here from the 26th of September at 172 as an important low, meaning that as long as you're above there, it's okay. Maybe this thing consolidates and continues. The second that you start to trade below here, now you have an actual breakdown in progress. And I would say the same thing. I would hold on to that analysis right now as well, man. You got high, lower high, lower high. Another price action pivots lower high right here, just below $2. And not even rallying with Bitcoin right now. I don't look at that as a good thing, man. I really don't look at that as a good thing. So while you're going to have bounces along the way, obviously, I actually think that this one's topping out for a little while. And, you're probably going to come back down to like 1 1/3, 140 to 130-ish region. Probably get a big bounce around there, come back to it after that. It's really hard to make any sort of like long-term analysis on this because, again, it's only been around for like 2 weeks, right? Less than 2 weeks, realistically. So, yeah, I don't have any real strong opinions on this. But for right now, short-term, I actually would be favoring downside. Only way I'd switch around my opinion is if it could reclaim the price action pivot right here at about $2. All right, we got Chronic Johnson. Great name. Great fucking name today. Silver chart, please, sir. I need to feed my village. Well, the good news is silver's been doing very, very well for a while. We've been bullish on silver for what feels like the last year, and I feel quite vindicated on that. And holy shit, it is actually finally at all-time high, or well, it's really, really close to all-time highs. It's more or less at all-time highs. I do think it will get to $50 officially. The question to me is, does it rally first or pull back first? Because I do think at some point in the month of October, you could easily get a pullback down to like 44-ish. I think that's completely fine, by the way, as well. But simultaneously, I do think you're in for new all-time highs this quarter. Yeah. I really think that this thing's going to make new all-time highs this quarter, man. If it does pull back to low 40s, I look at that as an opportunity. In fact, I'm going to put an alert there because I probably should be getting in my own positions in precious metals and shit like that for long-term hodls. Yeah. Anyways, what's up, Shipwreck? Good morning, T-Man. We'll get with the hype in a moment. Now, let me just take another sip of this water. Bitcoin trading above 118 and bullish as fuck. Is it, has it already traded above 118? I don't think it has. Oh, I think you're probably asking the question, like, if it gets above 118, is it bullish as fuck? That's the way I'd look at it. And it's very simple reasoning why. That's your last swing high right here. Getting back above the last swing high and on a slightly higher low. It's not by much, but it is a higher low. That would be an uptrend. So you'd have a reversal. Yeah. I would be bullish. I would be bullish. Price goes up, I'm bullish. Price goes down, I'm bearish. No, it's not very helpful, obviously. But the reason why is because that would take out this last lower high. So yeah, I'd look at that as significant. In other words, and if Bitcoin were to do that, I would probably have to switch around my opinion to be to not look for a correction first. because I mean, at that point, like, it's just a fucking uptrend, man. So yeah. Anyways, all right, cool. BM Mom says, hit that like, that sub, and join the Discord, nerd. I don't know what that's from, but probably should say that more often. Getting like a million emails over here. I get the most emails out of anyone in the world. It's actually insane. Obviously, that's not true, but it does feel like that sometimes, man. I feel like I have a secondary job where I just click all of my emails and then do mark as read. And then fucking Gmail changed around their thing recently, so I hit the wrong button all the time. It's very annoying. It's very, very big issues. Anyways, I'm sure they're gonna crime after Aster. What do you mean they're gonna crime Aster? What does that mean? I don't understand what you're trying to say, sir. BCBD says, can you look at Solana quick, short term, and long term? Sure. Let's bring it up over here. 220, we did say it was going to rally between 215 to 225, and it is right in the middle of there right now. So if you are going to get a pullback, this is the exact area that I'd essentially be looking for it to come from. Yeah, you did get a high of 220. See how the monthly closed? I'm not going to lie, man, that monthly really does look like a reversal. But again, my rules are, as long as you're above the red 5 EMA and all major moving averages are in a bullish posturing, I'm going to be bullish. You could have a correction down to $200. Again, that's fine, apparently. But the second that you come back down below the September lows, I would get bearish, and I would get really bearish. Well, really bearish. Okay, I don't know if that's the right terminology, but if you were to trade below the September lows and close, let's say, like even a daily below there, so that's 190. At that point, I'd be looking for a general sideways and downside correction all the way back down to like 150. It's not going to happen in one day, obviously, but it would happen over time, very likely. Until then, though, I would have a keen eye on, again, 190. 190 is the number to be aware of. As long as you're above there, I do think that there is hopium for this move to just continue to new all-time highs, maybe even this month. Okay, I don't know about new all-time highs, but higher highs than what we saw in September. How does the quarterly look? Quarterly looks good, to be fair. Quarterly actually looks quite good. Yeah, I'd probably lean towards a bullish bias on this thing. The real question to me is, does it just head up from here or does it pull back from here? This 220 area makes a lot of sense for a bit of a short-term pullback. But again, short-term pullback, I don't know if that's relevant to you. Does a short-term pullback, just bring it down to like 210? If so, that doesn't mean anything, at least towards like the long term. Does it bring it back below 190? Okay, now it actually means something. But until then, I would be looking at it with rose-colored goggles. Do you think it can go 100 plus this season? For what? I don't know what you're talking about, man. Reading these damn comments it's really difficult to have conversations when reading the comments. Like, first off, there's a delay, and then second off, it's like you don't even know if someone's talking to you or someone else in the chat. It's quite difficult. Gregor Pari says, can you look at Swift, SWFT coin? Oh, some sort of random shit coin. It's not even on TradingView apparently. So no, I can actually not. No, it is. Oh, Swift coin USD. Okay, that makes sense. It's not on Coinbase. Can't be that crazy, but yeah, it is pretty bad. Short term, do I think it goes up? Yeah. Does it stab back up towards like 9.5 Probably, yeah. I think you got a short-term low in there. Long-term, it's bearish. Long-term, I don't think this thing's ever going to go back above your 1.5 cent high from July of this year. But, it could go up a bit from here, put another lower high somewhere around 1 cent, head back down, something like that. Monthly, yeah, I'm never going to like charts like this. So, I think whatever upside you do see here, whether it's like 9.5 cents or maybe it gets back to 1 cent, I think that's likely going to be, the next high before a general push to the downside. Anyways, one more. Tino says, can you please look at SUI for the short term? Sure, ma'am. Short term to me just means like a 4-hour time frame. So let's see where my SUI schlop is. 343. Should this one finish above the red 5 EMA? Close 326, 5 EMA, 323. It did. All of these things are holding on for dear life. Let's go down to a 4-hour time frame. This area does make a lot of sense for a short-term pullback, but I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm bearish off that. I just think that it's going to maybe pull back down, I don't know, like 335. Okay. We have H bar shills, time to ban. Very nice. All right, yeah. If you're gonna just post brain dead shit like that, you're gonna get banned because it just makes everyone else pissed off. Like no one. By the way, has anyone ever been convinced by a message like that where it's just the name of a fucking crypto shitcoin and then a bunch of rocket ship emojis next to it? Like, what is the purpose of this? Like, you're obviously trying to get people to buy your shitcoin. Okay, I get that, but like, is that convincing to anyone? That's what I'm genuinely interested in. No, there's just like stupid people out there who think that would work. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it does work. Anyways, yeah, a lot of these I'm very stumped on because if you are going to pull back, basically this area, maybe ever so slightly higher would make sense. I mean, you are coming into some major movement averages here, so that does make sense to me. It might spike officially up to like $3.50 first. But this area does make a lot of sense for a pullback, to be honest, in the short term. Now, am I bearish on this one in the long term? Not yet. Why? Again, because of my monthly rule here. My monthly rule on SUI actually is super fucking clean for this one as well. Look, if you see this thing trade below September's low, I'd have no problem getting very bearish on this thing back down to like 3.25. Until that happens, though, it is going to be a bullish bias here. And if it trades anywhere above September's high, this thing is going to explode to the prior all-time high. I mean, I shouldn't say it's going to. I really should not be using direct terminology like that. But I would have a very strong bias towards it popping back up towards these prior highs here if that happens. Stops along the way, yes. But you're asking about very, very short term. I'd be betting on a short-term pullback from this region here at around $3.50. Not necessarily bearish, but just a pullback. Only bearish long-term if it comes back down below that September low. Can kind of say the same thing about a lot of these things. What else we got? Max Musterman says, LOL, no, but I miss the days when Richard Hart tried to bully people into buying his shit. But that, I mean, to be fair, that really did work. Then again, I don't know how much it worked versus how much of like paid advertisement it was. Because I do understand, and look, I don't have proof that he did this, but I do know that it is a strategy for many shitcoins to actually pay these services to create the perception of organic what's it called, interest in these shitcoin projects. And then, they'll go around on Twitter creating hashtags and whatnot to kind of, bolster it up and make it look like it's really, really popular. And they pay for these services. And it's probably just like a fucking farm in the Philippines or somewhere in the South, in Southeast Asia, where you got these people in like shitty conditions, with a bunch of phones trying to like all of the posts and everything like that. I do know that does happen with some projects. I don't have proof that it happens with his, but that, I imagine, or I wouldn't put it past him to do something like that. Cause I mean, this is also a guy who's like sending out fucking flyers, to hacked email addresses from, the Coinbase or the Ledger hacks. And I think also he was like the original email spammer or something like that from like many, many moons ago. Then again, I don't know the full story, so I don't want to talk about it. I don't know, maybe he's a great guy or something like that. I truly don't know, but I do know that other shitcoin projects have done tactics like that to make it appear like people, are really interested in it. And, I guess it does work with like really, really fucking dumb people. The madness of the crowds is a real thing. Like, I mean, I guess I wouldn't do it if it didn't work, right? Anyways, let's see. The dude looked like pimp. He does look like a pimp. He does look like a pimp. He also says he has very nice purses as well. That's what I'm told. A's and Massage Review says, Crown, I have October 3rd, 8 p.m. New York time. Thanks for playing. For what? I have no idea what the hell you're talking about, sir. Context, please. Will we ever meet the Nigerian prince? Perhaps yes, perhaps no. Only time shall tell. It's probably a bunch of AI bots. They don't even need humans anymore. Yeah, nowadays, nowadays for sure. So it's actually like really difficult to try to see. In fact, you'll notice whenever you go on like major influencers accounts on Twitter or X, and you go to their posts, you'll see all of these super generic comments under their posts, and either that is, whether it's AI or whether it's just a bot farm, or sorry, a farm in like the Philippines or some with, paid people to do that. It's all the same shit, right? It's fake engagement is what it is. It's fake. Let's see. Thinking about the name says Link USD, short and long term. Gotcha, man. We haven't looked at this one in I feel like a week. Let's see what it's doing. I imagine it's probably following the same sort of trajectory as most of these shitcoins today, and it's still above all major moving averages. In fact, it is. So that's big for me. Again, I'm not going to be bearish on this thing as long as you're above that red 5 EMA, which is more or less your low from September. Your low from September is about 20 bucks. As long as you're above there, I'm generally looking for this one to try up and to the right. But the second that you come back down below $20 and close, like let's say a weekly time frame below there, I'd say this thing is reversing. You're going to see back down to, mid-teens over time. That would be the long term. Short term, I think this thing continues to rally a little bit more. Let's say somewhere around 23 to 23 and a half, something like that in the short term. You kind of look at this as a bit of a falling channel. Yeah, give it the benefit of the doubt. Quarterly. Yeah, so similar to the other ones, the quarterly did not prove itself, but it's not a failure as well. It just hasn't proven itself just yet. It would have made things a lot easier if it did close above the price action pivot of 23 bucks or 22.87. It's hard for me not to look at this one as likely to break out to the upside in this case. If there is a pullback, again, anywhere down to like low $20 is completely fine. That does not destroy anything for me. It's below $20 where I switch around my opinion. And again, my rule on the monthly, holding on to that one until proven otherwise. Just seeing it happen too many damn times. What? No. All right, we'll do pump fund. Okay, sorry about that, Goal fam. Sometimes I got a little bit carried away. We'll look at pump fund. I'm sure it's doing great. Let's see. Actually doing better than a lot of things, to be fair. I don't know. What time frames do you want to look at, man? What time frames do you want to look at? Generally bullish as long as you're above the 25th of September's low, which is about half of a cent. Short term, do I think that you found a short term swing high here and you come back down? Probably, yeah, but it's not necessarily bearish. Maybe it comes back down to like 0.6 of a cent or something like that and then tries another upside move. Overall, I actually would look at this one as better than a lot of things, a lot of comparable things, to be honest. Yeah, man, we're usually live for about 2 hours. Oh shit, it literally is. Man, these streams go so fucking fast. They go so fucking fast. I try to aim it around 2 hours, but I thought it was like maybe an hour and a half into it right now. Yeah, they just go super fast, man. And that really is due to the community. It's like so much fucking fun with a lot of the conversations here. But yeah, if I had to call it, I actually do think it probably has a short-term pullback here, but if it pulls back down to like 0.6 of a cent, that's in a higher low, that's fine. This one's not bearish as long as you're above this low right here. Weekly time frame, not getting anything super unique from this, but overall, I'd just be bullishly biased as long as you're above about half of a cent, let's say, something like that. Maybe short term you get a pullback here. Like I said, that's not an issue. Create a range between this high and this low. That's completely fine. Something like that, man. 0xRict.D says, D Pro, where do you see a pullback, if any? Well, no, it's just going to go to the moon for forever. I'm guessing it's this thing, not some sort of random shitcoin. It depends what time you're on, of course. Now, long term, yeah, I do think that there will be a pullback at some point. Absolutely. Maybe you're like looking at a daily or something like that. So let's just mark off the last major high. Very high probability of a pullback somewhere around $11.50 if it gets around there. Do I think that this one's topped out here yet? No, we're not even on extremes for a daily BBWP, so I don't think it's topped out yet. No. In fact, daily RSI, I mean, yeah, it's getting up there, but it's still okay for now. It's not a major issue. I think that this one travels a little bit higher. Let's call somewhere between like 10.5 to 11.5. That's what I'd be looking for on a pullback. It's probably going to grind up that area for a while as well. I'd really keep a keen eye on volatility. When volatility starts to max out, for a few days, that's when I'd say, okay, yeah, you're probably in for at least a pullback. All right. Yes. I think we have hit everything today. I think we've hit everything. Asian Massage says, time, sir. I don't have a price target, but I have the time for the next move. 8 p.m. Friday, debt ceiling announcement. Do you mean the move will happen? Like, which move? All right, we'll do last one for Tom. He just snuck in there. VST, real stock. This should be relatively fast. Weekly, monthly, nice high-term time frames. Vistra Corp. Daily's fine. Weekly, multiple drives of bearish divergence here. So I do think you are going to be consolidating at a high level for a while, but overall it is bullish long-term. It's just Is it going to break out from here like this week? Probably not. I think it's going to take a little bit of time. At some point in this quarter, I actually do think it will make new all-time highs. Yeah, I don't really have any other major pieces of analysis here for this thing. In fact, I think you might even already have the low of the month in. Yeah, I don't know what I was looking at earlier, but I think you might actually already have the low of the month in. Oh, no, it's the weekly time frame. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it's going to make new highs this week, but probably this month it does try another new all-time high. Like, I feel very strongly that this is not going to be your all-time high for a long time. I'll put it that way. I think at some point this quarter you take out that high, probably even this month. Only way I'd get bearish on this thing is if you traded below the September low. At that point, I'd look for a very sizable correction to 150, but that's quite far away right now, man. So yeah. All right. What's up, Van Doyson? He says, just join in. Was at the dentist. Please tell me I can buy Bitcoin lower in the coming week. I hope so, man. I actually hope so myself. But as we've been, the deeper that we get into the stream, the more and more I'm starting to think to myself, I think I'm going to be wrong. I think I'm going to be wrong on these. Bitcoin can trade back above this high. That is an uptrend. So I suppose as long as you are below about 118, yeah, there is still a shot that, we could get an early month pullback. But the second that this thing closes a daily above 118, at least from my point of view, you might get a pullback. I just don't think it's going to be that shallow. Or sorry, I don't think it's going to be that deep. I think it's going to be rather shallow. And overall, I'd kind of have to switch into like fucking parabolic mode, I guess. It doesn't really feel right, but it doesn't really matter what my feelings are, I suppose. All right, Tom, CHK. Is this Chesapeake? Wait, hold on. Is this Chesapeake? CH? No, it's Checkpoint. Okay. So it's like a random stock that I traded like fucking 15 years ago. Short term, I think you got a local high in here. You're going to be playing out a range somewhere between like, let's call it 210. What is it? 210? Basically 210. And the lows of what you saw in August. You are on very high term time frames, so I imagine that's going to be mostly relevant to you. But that's just a weekly. If we're on the monthly, maybe we change around that range high to like 212, 213 region. It's not a whole hell of a lot different, to be fair. Overall bullish. I just think you're going to be correcting sideways and creating a range for a while. But overall bullish. I just think you're going sideways here for a while. Yeah, that's really all I've got to say about that. Massively bullish long term as long as you're above about 180. Below 180, I'd call a major correction, major correction down to like 140, 130. If that would happen, but that's very, very far away. Generally, quite good. I just think you're going sideways here for a while. That's pretty much it. All right. The hate is appreciated. I appreciate it very, very much, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure on this nice little Wednesday morning, as always. And we shall be back. We shall be back tomorrow with some more statistical analysis. Friday for another live stream again. Other than that, I want to wish everyone the best.